The morning sun glinted off the steel and glass facade of Vaughn Enterprises as Cassia Loren stepped through the revolving doors. Today was her 7th wedding anniversary, and the day her life would crumble at Ryder Vaughn's feet. She tightened her grip on the slim leather portfolio, holding her latest quarterly report. In the lobby, the receptionist offered her a sympathetic smile. Cassia forced one back, though her stomach churned. By 9 a.m., the boardroom doors were thrown open. Cassia paused in the doorway. Every board member stood in silent, morbid anticipation. At the head of the long mahogany table, Ryder Vaughn waited, arms crossed, his tailored suit cutting a perfect silhouette. His newest arm candy, Kira Miles, posed behind him, crimson lips curved in relish. No one spoke. Ryder's baritone voice cut through the hush. "Cassia," he said, gesturing to the seat opposite him. "Sit." Her heart pounded. She crossed to the chair, setting the portfolio on the table and sliding in. Her pulse thundered in her ears as he laid a single white envelope before her. "These are your divorce papers," he announced, eyes gleaming. "I've decided I deserve a wife who can match my ambition." He tapped the envelope. "Sign." Cassia's breath caught. She stared at the crisp stationery bearing her name in bold. Shock blurred into humiliation. She lifted her gaze to the faces around the table, once colleagues, now silent witnesses to her public degradation. Her trembling hand reached for the pen. "Kira's more than happy to assume my duties," Ryder continued, voice low, venom lacing each word. "You're far too ordinary for me." He paused to let it sink in. "I've found someone who appreciates my standards." Cassia's vision blurred. Melancholy and rage warred within her. 7 years she stood by him, supported his empire while shelving her own dreams. And now, in front of the board she helped build, he discarded her like a broken instrument. Her pen scratched across the page. The paper crackled in her hand. She signed. Each letter felt like an echo of her shattered self-worth. She slid the ink document back to Ryder. He pushed it away with a smirk. "Congratulations," he said, leaning back. Then, with calculated cruelty, he kissed Kira on the lips. "Enjoy your new life, Cass." Cassia's tears burned behind her lids. She rose, portfolio clutched to her chest like a lifeline, and turned to leave. The board members watched her retreat, some with pity, most with relief that the awkwardness was over. Cassia's legs felt unsteady as she walked out, past the receptionist, whose sympathetic eyes now brimmed with unshed tears, and into the hallway. Shaking, she pressed her back against the cool marble wall, fighting the sob that threatened to escape. She thought of the life she lost, the social status, the department head parking spot, the glow of approval she once basked in, all gone. But amid the ruin, something else flickered, a spark of fury. She would not fade. If he expected her to beg, to crawl back, he would be bitterly disappointed. Cassia inhaled deeply. The building's elevator dinged behind her. She would step out of Ryder Vaughn's shadow, and when she did, he would regret ever underestimating her. Cassia stepped onto the streets of Manhattan, autumn leaves skittering at her heels. She clutched her portfolio tight, as though it could shield her from the cold. Her phone buzzed, a single text from Jade. "I heard. Call me." Jade's terse message warmed her more than the cafe steam, swirling before her. She ducked inside the nearest coffee shop, ordered a latte, and sank onto a high stool. Fingers wrapped around the warm cup, she forced herself to breathe. Ryder's parting words echoed in her mind. "You'll crawl back to me when life shows you what you are without me." The whisper had been barely audible, yet venomous enough to scar. He was certain of his power, his grip over her world. Yet he didn't know Cassia Loren. She tapped Jade's name. The phone rang twice before her best friend's voice crackled. "Cassia?" Jade chirped. Cassia closed her eyes. "They served me in the boardroom," she said haltingly, in front of everyone. A low growl rumbled through Jade's line. "That bastard. I'm taping this out of my system. But—" A chair scraped. Cassia peeked over her shoulder to see Ryder's assistant, Victor Shaw, exit the building. He glanced her way, uncertainty in his eyes. Their brief friendship on corporate retreats had been genuine, until office politics intervened. But now he looked sympathetic. She shook off the thought. I'm at Java and Company. Jade, I need you. Moments later, Jade slid onto the stool beside her. Dark curls framed a face alight with fierce determination. You want revenge, Jade said firmly. But I want reinvention. Kasha managed a shaky laugh. I don't even know who I am without him. Exactly my point, Jade countered. You spent 7 years as Mrs. Ryder Vaughn. You shelved your talents, your dreams. It's time to rediscover Kasha Loren. A pang of doubt flared. Could she build something on her own? Jade leaned in, eyes blazing. Remember that startup idea you sketched in college? The one you abandoned? Kasha clenched her cup. Her old notebook, hidden in her apartment's drawer, contained pages of doodles, concepts for a women's wellness app fused with AR fashion. A half-forgotten passion. What if, Jade continued, you pulled it out, dusted it off, and pitched it? Kasha's pulse quickened. Fear and excitement mingled in her chest. I haven't looked at that notebook in years. Exactly why it's raw, Jade insisted. Authentic. You need to remind the world who you are. Kasha peeled back a corner of her latte's foam, her mind whirring. The thought of building something real, based on her vision, ignited her spirit. She felt a surge of control she hadn't known in months. Jade raised her latte, an unspoken toast. To rebirth. Kasha clinked her cup against Jade's. The foam rippled. To rebirth, she repeated, voice steadier. As they sipped, Kasha's gaze drifted to the window. Across the street, a black SUV idled outside Ryder's skyscraper. But she was no longer his to claim. She would rise on her own terms, and when she did, Ryder Vaughn would learn that Kasha Loren wasn't someone you could break. That evening, Kasha's luggage lay unpacked in Jade's cozy Brooklyn loft. The living room couch was strewn with throw pillows and blankets. Kasha surveyed her temporary kingdom. Emerald velvet pillows, a plush cream blanket, a single framed photo of her and Ryder on their wedding day, smiling, radiant. Jade appeared, holding 2 steaming bowls of ramen. Dinner. Kasha collapsed onto the couch, hugging a pillow. I feel 12 again. Jade sat beside her, pressing the bowl into Kasha's lap. We're starting fresh. Hell, when was the last time you treated yourself to ramen? Kasha laughed through a mouthful of noodles. Probably college. Jade eyed her seriously. Okay, business first. Revenge is tempting, but your vision is bigger. We're mapping out your comeback. Kasha fiddled with her chopsticks. I have an idea. I looked at that old notebook. You did. Jade's eyes gleamed. Show me. Kasha dug through a cardboard box and produced the battered notebook. Jade flipped it open to pages filled with wireframes, notes, and doodles. The embryonic design for Nova Her, a luxury wellness platform merging virtual styling, health analytics, and community support for professional women. Jade traced her finger along a sketched user interface. This is gold. Kasha inhaled sharply. But I need funding, mentorship, connections. Jade nodded. Then we find them. She tapped her phone. I've got contacts. We'll refine your pitch. Target angel investors. Kasha closed her eyes, picturing herself standing in a polished boardroom. Her own boardroom, confident, commanding. She felt that old thrill. Where do I sleep? Kasha asked, breaking the charged silence. Here, Jade said, nodding at the couch. Queen on the throne. Kasha smiled wryly. Queen on a couch. Trust me, Jade replied, draping a blanket over Kasha's knees. This couch is the birthplace of empires. That night, Kasha lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The city hummed outside. She tightened her grip on the notebook. The faded pages seemed to pulse with possibility. Tomorrow, she'd start drafting her pitch. She pictured Ryder's smirk when he saw her rising without him. She smothered a grin. Yes, there would be revenge, but hers would taste like triumph. With that thought, exhaustion claimed her. She drifted into a sleep neither broken nor defeated, ready to dream of the empire she would build. Moonlight filtered through the loft skylight as Kasha woke, heart racing. She rolled over, coffee already brewing. Jade appeared moments later with 2 mugs. Fuel, she said, handing one to Kasha. Kasha cradled the mug. inhaling the rich aroma. We need structure. Have you drafted anything? Jade nodded. I outlined a presentation deck. Sections, market analysis, user persona, revenue model, launch strategy. She slid a laptop across the coffee table. Kasha opened the battered notebook to the first page. The original concept for Nova Her. She traced the diagrams of in-app avatars, wellness trackers, personalized styling feeds. I need to update these, she murmured. Jade tapped the touchpad. Let's digitize your sketches. She opened PowerPoint. Slide 1 appeared blank, cursor blinking. They worked in tandem. Kasha described her vision. Jade translated it into sleek slides. Chapter by chapter, they fleshed out details. How the AR feature would let users virtually try high-end outfits, how proprietary AI would craft wellness regimens, and how brand collaborations could drive revenue. By noon, they completed the core deck. Kasha leaned back, surveying their handiwork, clean layouts, vibrant mock-ups, compelling bullet points. She felt a surge of pride. Jade stretched. Time for lunch break. Kasha hesitated. I should send this to potential investors tonight. Jade raised an eyebrow. You sure? Kasha nodded. I want feedback from Damian Cross. Who's that? Jade asked, pouring water. Kasha exhaled. A billionaire investor I met once at a summit. He was intrigued by my ideas, asked to stay in touch. I never followed up. Jade's eyes sparkled. Then tonight, we rekindled that spark. After Jade left to pick up sandwiches, Kasha reviewed the deck on her laptop. She hesitated over Damian's email address, fingers poised above the keyboard. Finally, she clicked compose. Subject, Nova Her, a revolution in women's wellness and fashion. In the body, she introduced herself, briefly reminding him of their summit encounter, then outlined her startup's mission, traction plan, and funding request. $1 million in seed capital for a 6-month beta launch. She attached the presentation. Her finger hovered over send. Doubt flickered. What if he laughed? What if he ignored her? The old voice loomed. You're nothing without Ryder. Kasha steadied her breath. No more. She clicked send. The email swooshed off into the digital ether. She stared at the empty draft window. Jade's triumphant return with sandwiches shattered the silence. Kasha managed a tight smile. It's sent. Jade hooped. That's my warrior. She elbow-bumped Kasha. Now we wait. Kasha's phone dinged. A new message. Received. Reviewing. Will reply soon. DK. Her heartbeat quickened. He replied. Jade hooped again, nearly spraying water across the table. He replied. Kasha laughed, the sound bright and unburdened. For the first time in months, she felt hope and power coursing through her veins. The old notebook lay open between them, its pages transformed into the blueprint for her future. 48 hours later, Kasha paced Jade's loft, laptop open and battery dwindling. Her phone lay beside it, silent. No further word from Damian Cross. Anxiety gnawed at her gut. Jade nudged her. Stop pacing. Kasha collapsed onto the couch. I can't help it. A sudden knock at the door jolted them both. Kasha's heart lurched. Who? Jade flew to the door and cracked it open. Outside stood a tall man in a charcoal suit, sunglasses perched on his nose, earpiece discreetly visible. A black SUV idled curbside, tinted windows reflecting the skyline. Jade stared. Is that? The man cleared his throat. Ms. Loren. Kasha rose, shaking. Yes. He produced a silver card. Damian Cross. Beneath was a cell number. Kasha blinked. You're... He smiled, a flash of white. Your investor. He stepped inside, scanning the loft with a practiced eye. I trust you received my email? Kasha swallowed. Yes. Thank you for coming. He nodded curtly. Your deck shows promise, but details matter. I'm here to discuss refinement. Kasha's chest tightened. Of course. They moved to the coffee table. Jade hovered nearby, excitement and nerves dancing across her face. Damian settled, removing his sunglasses. His steel gray eyes appraised Kasha. Walk me through your user onboarding, he said, flicking to the slide. Kasha invoked every late-night brainstorming session. Users create an avatar that mirrors their body type. AI analyzes their lifestyle inputs, sleep, diet, activity, and curates daily wellness routines. Then, via AR, they can virtually try on luxury brand looks. Social features let them share insights and achievements. Damien nodded, interjecting questions on data security, partnership strategy, and long-term scaling. Kasha answered each, adrenaline sharpening her clarity. After an intense 90 minutes, he leaned back. He tapped the table. "You thought this through. I'm prepared to offer $1 million seed funding for a 20% stake." Kasha's breath stopped. $1 million, her ticket to launch. Damien continued, voice softer. "I see more than a product. I see your resilience. Build Novaher and break every ceiling." Kasha's eyes pricked. "Thank you." He gathered his things. "Expect the term sheet by tomorrow. Congratulations." As he exited, Jade burst into applause. Kasha sank into the couch, the weight of the moment settling over her. A black SUV door slammed outside. Ryder Vaughn's face flickered past the window, curiosity, and something darker, etched in his features. But Kasha paid him no mind. She was no longer at his mercy. With Damien's backing, she would ascend, and when she did, the world would watch her soar. Tomorrow, the real journey began. The first rays of dawn seeped through Jade's loft windows as Kasha Loren stared bleary-eyed at her laptop. On the screen lay Damien Cross's email. 48 hours. Impress me. Beneath it, the attached feedback document teemed with notes, requests for deeper market analysis, refined financial projections, and a sharper go-to-market strategy. 2 days. Kasha's heart pounded. She inhaled, stretched, and roused Jade, who appeared clutching 2 steaming mugs of matcha lattes. "Time to conquer the world," Jade whispered, clinking her mug against Kasha's. They dove in. First, they built a detailed competitor matrix. Luxury fashion houses versus wellness apps versus Novaher's hybrid edge. Ryder Vaughn's legacy brand was absent from this matrix, an oversight that filled Kasha with vindication. Next, they drilled down on user personas. Career-driven Chloe, wellness-hungry Miranda, and social-savvy Priya, each with demographic data and engagement triggers. By midday, their whiteboard was a battlefield of statistics, charts, and sticky notes. Jade synthesized the feedback. Slide 5 needs real numbers. Kasha opened her spreadsheet app and ran models. Projected 10,000 beta users in 6 months, with 20% conversion to paid subscriptions, yielding $1.2 million in ARR by year 1. She animated cash flow charts in PowerPoint, highlighting break-even points and scaling scenarios. Late afternoon brought their first real exchange of fire. Kasha typed a question into the feedback doc. "Given the high acquisition cost in luxury tech, should we incorporate a phased referral program to drive viral growth?" Damien's response pinged almost instantly. "Include a detailed referral mechanics slide and forecast its impact. 15% of growth should be organic if executed well." 15% organic growth, Jade echoed. "Let's map out that funnel." They sketched a 3-tier referral system, bronze, silver, gold, with escalating rewards, a free virtual styling session, exclusive early access to limited edition drops, and a private webinar with Kasha herself. By evening, they drafted a slide, complete with flowcharts showing viral coefficient projections. Exhaustion tugged at Kasha's eyelids, but she pressed on. Next came the risk mitigation section, data privacy, AR permissions, and contingency plans for platform outages. She called Victor Shaw, Ryder's former assistant and now her tech lead, who patiently outlined encryption protocols and server redundancy strategies. He emailed her a concise security roadmap, which Kasha embedded into the deck. At midnight, Jade ordered Thai food, overpad Thai, and spring rolls. They reviewed the nearly complete pitch. Kasha rehearsed her verbal pitch, pacing the living room. "With Novaher's AI-driven wellness analytics and AR-powered styling, we project a 25% month-over-month user increase post-launch." Jade timed her, offering feedback on tone, pacing, and eye contact to an imaginary Damien across the coffee table. As dawn approached once more, the final slide materialized. conclusion and ask, a succinct summary of Nova Her's vision, traction roadmap, and the bold ask, $1 million seed for 20% equity to achieve a successful beta launch and pave the way for Series A. Kasia stared at the screen, fingers hovering above the send button. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Vaughn Enterprises faces 10% stock dip. Kasia's lips curved into a triumphant smile. Even in her debt-fueled nights, she felt a surge of empowerment. She clicked send. Done, she whispered. Jade collapsed onto the couch. Kasia exhaled, closing her eyes. 72 hours ago, she was broken. Now, she had proof. Her vision, her resilience, her intellect. And soon, she would prove it to the world. The CEO's suite of Cross Capital was intimidating. Floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of Central Park, marble floors echoing every footstep, and a massive conference table carved from a single slab of onyx. Kasia Loren stood at the head, flanked by Damian Cross and two senior partners. Her hands were steady, her spine straight. She was ready. Damian gestured to the screen. Kasia, take it away. Kasia inhaled and clicked to the title slide. Nova Her, empowering women through tech and luxury. Her voice, clear and confident, outlined the genesis of the idea, her own struggle to balance wellness and professional life, and the market gap she intended to fill. She transitioned smoothly through the slides, market analysis, competitor landscape, user personas, referral mechanics, projected growth, and risk mitigation. At each pause, her confidence sharpened. When the room fell silent, she smiled. Our projected 6-month beta will onboard 15,000 users, leading to an expected $1.5 million ARR by month 12. With your investment, we can scale to 100,000 users in 18 months, capturing 2% of the luxury tech market. A partner leaned forward. Your CAC seems low. Walk us through your marketing channels. Kasia clicked to the go-to-market strategy slide. We'll leverage influencer partnerships, targeted LinkedIn campaigns, and our referral program, which we project will account for 30% of user growth, based on viral coefficient modeling. She pointed to a funnel chart showing the 3-tier referral tiers. Bronze incentives drive initial shares. Silver rewards accelerate engagement. Gold unlocks VIP experiences, fostering brand loyalty and press coverage. Questions followed. How will you retain users beyond launch? What's your AR tech stack? How do you plan to onboard luxury brands? Kasia answered each with poise, consulting Victor's security roadmap when technical questions arose. She referenced testimonials from early focus groups Jade had organized and included screenshots of the beta UI, glowing with user feedback. 45 minutes later, she reached her concluding slide. Build it. Break them. She clicked to reveal Damian's logo beside Nova Her's, symbolizing partnership. I believe in Nova Her and in creating a future where women thrive without compromise. Silence filled the room. Kasia exhaled, letting the moment settle. Damian smiled, a slow, satisfied curve of his lips. Impressive, Kasia. Truly. He looked to his partners, who nodded. One partner pushed back. We need assurances. If projections falter. Kasia leaned forward. I'm personally committed to this vision. My equity is locked for 4 years. I will lead the team, and I've secured top talent. Victor Shaw, CTO, and marketing strategist Jade Miles. My skin is in the game. Damian clicked his pen. We'll draft term sheets. Welcome aboard, Kasia. A thrill raced through her. The partners rose, offering handshakes and congratulations. Kasia shook each hand, her mind racing ahead. The next steps, the launch, the moment when Nova Her would become a household name. After they left, Damian lingered. You've done more than pitch a product. You pitched your soul. He extended his hand. To our partnership. Kasia grasped it firmly. To breaking ceilings. 3 weeks later, a sleek website with the golden Nova Her logo went live at midnight. Kasia and Jade huddled around laptops in Jade's loft, refreshing the analytics dashboard. The first wave of sign-ups trickled in, then cascaded. Within hours, 2,000 registrations. By dawn, 5,000. Jade cheered, nearly overturning her chair. It's happening. Kasha monitored social media. Fashion bloggers posted teaser reviews. Wellness influencers praised the app's seamless AR styling and personalized health recommendations. A hashtag #MyNOVR, started trending. Meanwhile, writer Vaughn's team was blindsided. At the daily board briefing the next morning, he glared at his CMO. Why didn't Market Intel flag Novaher? His assistant, 3 months earlier, the formidable Victor Shaw, spoke up. I alerted you. The data showed a rising competitor. You were fired. Ryder bellowed. Victor's calm gaze met his. I resigned, he corrected. I joined Novaher because I believe in Kasha's vision. Back at the loft, Kasha and Jade skim news alerts. Luxury tech startup Novaher raises eyebrows. Our CEO's losing ground to ex-wives. Cassidy Lauren's name trended. Comments poured in. She's fierce. Take that, Ryder. Kasha smiled, hands fluttering over the keyboard. She responded to a fashion journalist. Thank you. Can't wait for you to try our AR styling feature. By week 1, Novaher's beta burst through 20,000 users. Investors buzzed about the platform's potential. Damian Cross retweeted a user's glowing review, tagging Kasha. Proud to back innovation and resilience. #Novaher. Kasha leaned back, exhaling a breath she hadn't realized she held. The taste of triumph was sweet, but she kept her guard up. This was only the beginning. In Manhattan, Ryder watched Novaher's social metrics outpace Vaughn Enterprises. His boardroom presentations shifted from confident forecasts to defensive damage control. Meanwhile, Kasha, in her hoodie and coffee-stained jeans, was rewriting the rules of luxury. That night, as the city lights shimmered, Kasha closed her laptop. She tapped Jade on the shoulder. Let's celebrate with sushi. Jade grinned. To the launch of an empire. Kasha raised an imaginary glass. To breaking ceilings and taking names. The following Monday morning, Kasha arrived at Novaher's temporary HQ, a repurposed loft in Soho buzzing with energy. Holographic screens streamed live social feeds. Marketing teams huddled over tablets. The air smelled of fresh coffee and ambition. Kasha paused at the entrance, inhaling deeply. Gone were the days of waking on a friend's couch. Now, she strode into her own empire. Jade met her with a fist bump. You're trending #1 on Twitter. Kasha grinned. Show me. Jade swiped through a wall-mounted monitor. Headlines flashed. Novaher takes on luxury tech. Ex-wife startup outshines CEO's brand. Kasha Loren, the new face of female empowerment. Laughter and applause echoed behind them. The marketing director, an affable former Vogue editor, presented the latest user engagement figures. 45% daily active users, average session length of 12 minutes, and skyrocketing referral rates. 35% of new signups. Organic growth surpassed projections, she announced. In just 2 weeks, we've acquired 30,000 users. Kasha's chest swelled. What about retention? Retention is at 60% after 1 week, the analyst replied. If this holds, we'll hit Series A metrics by month 3. A ping alerted Kasha to a breaking news email. Vaughn Enterprises shares plunged 15% amid Novaher buzz. She opened it to see Ryder's stock chart spiraling. A cold thrill ran through her veins. Jade nudged her. Your tweet. Kasha tapped out a single line. Innovation never sleeps. Rocket #Novaher. Moments later, a flurry of retweets and mentions followed. Investors on LinkedIn slid into her DMs, requesting meetings. PR agencies pitched partnership ideas. That afternoon, Kasha stepped into a glass-walled conference room for her first post-launch all-hands meeting. She faced a semicircle of new hires, developers, and brand liaisons. Her voice rang out. Welcome to Novaher. We're here to redefine luxury tech, and we'll do it together. Applause filled the room. Kasha felt a warmth she'd never experienced at Vaughn Enterprises. Genuine excitement, collective purpose. She laid out roadmaps, next AR features, expanding wellness analytics, and forging collaborations with top designers. Each bullet point sparked fresh enthusiasm. Afterward, Victor appeared at her side. Kasha, Media wants an interview. Are you ready? She met his gaze. The woman who once signed divorce papers in public. Let them come. In an office half a world away, Ryder Vaughn slammed his fist onto his desk. A framed photo of him and Kira rattled. His empire was crumbling, and Cassia's was soaring. He closed his eyes, recalling the day he whispered, "You'll crawl back to me." But Cassia was already flying. Under a chandelier of cascading crystals, the Grand Kingston Hotel ballroom gleamed in ivory and gold. Socialites in haute couture mingled beside philanthropists in tuxedos. A floor-to-ceiling banner proclaimed this year's gala theme: Empowerment through Innovation. Cassia Loren, resplendent in a custom white gown with subtle golden embroidery, stepped onto the marble floor, arm in arm with Damian Cross. Cameras flashed as they entered, their silhouettes cutting in elegant contrast. Whispers rippled. Who is she? That's the Nova, her founder. Ryder Vaughn watched from the stage wings, robes of his own suit immaculate. As keynote speaker, he scanned the crowd until his eyes locked on Cassia. His jaw tightened. Cassia guided Damian toward the VIP tables. Jade waved from the center table, while Victor offered a discreet nod from the tech benefactor section. Cassia smiled, her world intertwined with loyal allies. Ryder ascended the podium. Microphones captured his polished voice. Welcome to tonight's gala, supporting women in STEM and business. I am proud to introduce, his eyes flicked to Cassia, the visionary leader and entrepreneur, Cassandra Loren. A collective gasp echoed. Ryder's smirk faltered. Cassia closed the gap to the podium, offering a gracious nod. Cameras pivoted, capturing every detail. Damian's proud smile, Jade's radiant applause, Victor's respectful bow. Ryder swallowed. Cassandra, please. Cassia approached the mic. Her gown's train shimmered. Addressing the audience, she spoke with calm authority. Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. It's an honor to stand here in support of women forging new paths in technology and business. At Nova Her, we believe empowerment is the greatest luxury. Her words resonated through the hall. She paused to let the applause swell. Then, turning slightly to Ryder, she added, I'm grateful for the invitation, though I wasn't here for leisure. I'm here because Nova Her donated $250,000 to tonight's scholarship fund. Cameras zoomed on her outstretched hand, signing a digital check on a sleek tablet handed by a gala coordinator. Ryder's applause was stiff, the crowd's was genuine and enthusiastic. Flashbulbs popped. Social media erupted. Tweets proclaimed Cassia the night's true star. Backstage, Kira Miles watched footage on her phone, lips quivering. She slid it into her clutch and exited silently. As the gala resumed, Cassia descended the steps to Damian's side. He whispered, You just rewrote the narrative. Cassia exhaled, satisfaction warming her. She looked across the ballroom, where Ryder, once the puppet master of her life, sat deflated. She raised an imaginary glass. To rewriting the rules, she murmured. And in that glittering ballroom, under waves of admiration, Cassia Loren knew she'd never look back. Cassia Loren stepped onto the polished marble floor of the International Women's Summit, the auditorium humming with anticipation. Her heels clicked steadily as she made her way to the stage podium, each step a testament to the empire she'd built since Ryder Vaughn cast her aside. Journalists, dignitaries, and tech titans filled the plush seats. As she reached the mic, the murmur flattened into expectant silence. She cleared her throat. Thank you for welcoming me today, she began, voice resonant. Behind her, a giant screen displayed Nova Her's soaring user statistics, 1.5 million downloads and a 72% retention rate. The audience broke into applause. Cassia allowed a small smile before continuing. Our journey wasn't without obstacles, but every setback forged our resilience. In the middle-tier seats, Ryder Vaughn shifted uneasily. His new wife, Kira Miles, perched beside him like a trophy, struggled to summon polite claps. Cameras panned them both, juxtaposing Cassia's triumphant presence against Ryder's forced composure. Flashbulbs popped as the cameras captured his tightened jaw and Kira's attempt at a supportive smile. Cassia launched into her keynote. The next wave of Nova Her innovations, AI-driven mental wellness modules, virtual networking lounges, and an exclusive designer collaboration shoehorned into the app's interface. Each announcement drew cheers, and rising stock tickers projected onto the screen. Comments scrolled live. Queen Kasha. Rider who? This is history. Midway through, Ryder's voice crackled over the summit's live stream feed, an accidentally live speakerphone in his pocket. I can't believe she... He paused, realizing his microphone was open. His words spilled to thousands. Cameras whipped toward him. Kasha paused, eyebrow arched. The audience tittered. Ryder fumbled with his device, cheeks flushing crimson. Kira hissed at him under her breath. Kasha seized the moment. She smiled graciously into the mic and said, "Seems some habits die hard." The auditorium erupted. Reporters scribbled furiously. Kasha's comeback crushes X's dignity. Social media erupted with memes of Ryder's meltdown. Kasha allowed herself a fleeting laugh before continuing her address with undiminished poise. By the time she concluded, the auditorium leapt to its feet. Standing ovation. Kasha bowed her head slightly, gratitude radiating through her. Down below, Ryder finally found his voice, offering an awkward clap. Too little, too late. Kira glanced at her phone screen, where headlines already read, "Public humiliation for CEO Vanguard." Kasha exited amidst a tide of well-wishers. As she passed, Victor Shaw slipped her a note. "Media wants an exclusive, tonight at 8. She tucked it away, thoughts racing. The public reunion had cemented her victory. She was no longer defined by Ryder Vaughn. Instead, she defined the future, and he was left watching. Back at Vaughn Enterprises headquarters, Ryder Vaughn sat alone in his executive suite, the city lights glinting through floor-to-ceiling windows. His CMO had just briefed him on Nova Hearst's latest market penetration, 5% share in the first quarter post-launch, and on Ryder's own company's plummeting brand sentiment index. Numbers swam like taunts on the spreadsheets. He slammed the glossy report onto his desk. His new wife, Kira, hovered in the doorway, concerned. "Ryder, maybe you should step away, take a break," she ventured. His glare silenced her. "Break," he spat. "She Kasha is a joke. I made her who she was." Kira's eyes glistened with unshed tears. She bit her lip and withdrew. Alone, Ryder paced. Memories of Kasha's divorce room composure resurfaced, now amplified by her public triumphs. His ego, once unshakable, felt fractured. He recalled her keynote jibe at the summit. "Seems some habits die hard." He'd become the punchline. Fury coiled in his chest. He tapped his phone, drafting an email to the PR team. Prepare a smear campaign. Across town, Kasha reviewed the leaked summit clip, Ryder's live mic moment, on Nova Hearst's social feed. Jade sat beside her, shielding her laptop screen. "He's desperate. He'll do anything now." Kasha nodded, calm determination straightening her spine. "Let him try. We'll counter every move with transparency." Back in his office, Ryder convened an emergency board meeting via video conference. He opened with a brusque tone. "Kasha's company is encroaching on our territory. We need offensive strategies, aggressive pricing, counter-marketing, partner exclusives." His board members exchanged uneasy glances, wary of his growing desperation. One senior director, voice measured, asked, "What about goodwill with our legacy clients?" Ryder's eyes narrowed. "Goodwill? They'll remember who delivers results, and whose stock is tanking." He closed the meeting. The screen went dark. He leaned back, breath rattling. His palms were clammy. If Kasha soared, he would fall, and he refused. Meanwhile, Victor Shaw, now CTO at Nova Hearst, received clandestine messages from former Vaughn colleagues leaking internal memos, hinting at Ryder's next move. He forwarded them to Kasha with a single note. "Intel." Kasha's expression remained serene. She tapped a reply. "Thanks. We'll stay ahead." Ryder's envy had become an obsession. Each night, he scrolled Nova Hearst's glowing press, each article another dagger. He muttered to himself, "I built her empire. She owes me." Yet with every chastening headline, he sank deeper. His jealousy fueled his aggression, but also his unraveling. And in the glow of his monitors, Kasha's vibrant brand took shape, as his worst nightmare. Unstoppable growth, unwavering support, and a CEO who turned his taunt into her battle cry. The trading floor at Cross Capital hummed like a beehive as monitors flashed market data. Damian Cross stood before a gathering of investors and analysts in the glass-walled strategy room, a grin playing on his lips. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce Novaher has surpassed a $1 billion valuation. Applause thundered. Kasha Loren, seated in the front row, felt a surge of emotion, validation, relief, triumph. 2 years ago her world lay in ruins. Today, she commanded a company valued at $1 billion. She caught Damian's eye. He offered a subtle nod of respect. Jade squeezed her hand. Victor leaned forward, pride radiating. Outside, the newswire blared. Novaher joins Unicorn Club. From divorcee to billion-dollar CEO. Social media trending tags multiplied. Hashtag 1 billion strong. Hashtag Kasha Loren. Influencers queued for interviews, brands sought partnerships, and even legacy investors scrambled to catch the wave. In a corner of the room, rookie analysts poked at spreadsheets. 200% year-over-year growth, subscription revenue eclipsing luxury rivals, and a healthy cash runway. Kasha's marketing director chimed in. Our referral program drove 40% of new users this quarter. Retention steady at 68%. Damian interjected. We're exceeding our forecasts across every KPI. Back at Vaughn Enterprises, Ryder Vaughn watched the live webcast of the announcement on a loop. His face, reflected on multiple screens, looked pale and drawn. A single staff member hovered nearby. Sir, they've overtaken us in market cap. Ryder's jaw clenched. They're a flash in the pan, he muttered. But the numbers didn't lie. Market analysts recalibrated their outlook on Ryder's company, downgrading its stock. Investors pulled funds, redirecting them to Novaher. Each sell-off stung. Ryder slammed his fist against his desk, rattling the framed photo of his own accomplishments. Meanwhile, Kasha stepped onto the stage to address reporters. $1 billion valuation is more than a number. It's a promise to women everywhere that they can redefine their futures on their own terms. Her gaze swept across the crowd. We're just getting started. Flashbulbs erupted. That night, Kasha and Damian celebrated quietly over sushi in a private lounge. Damian offered a glass of champagne. To the first billion, he toasted. Kasha's eyes shimmered. To the next 10. They clinked glasses, savoring the moment. Back in his penthouse, Ryder Vaughn stared out at the cityscape, its lights flickering like reminders of Kasha's ascent and his own decline. He whispered into the night, "This isn't over." But the echo answered him with silence, punctuated only by the distant cheer raised in honor of Kasha Loren, the woman who refused to crawl back. A soft chime announced a new message on Kasha's tablet. It was from Ryder Vaughn. "Can we talk? Urgent." She studied the terse text. Her thumb hovered over delete. But she paused. Jade, perched beside her, peered over. "What is it?" Kasha sighed. "Ryder wants to talk." Jade's eyes narrowed. "Why would you give him that attention? He humiliated you." Kasha tapped out a reply. "Please stop contacting me." She hit send and wiggled her shoulders, shrugging off the tension. 2 hours later, her office assistant announced a visitor. "Mr. Vaughn is here." Kasha rose, smoothing her blazer. Jade leaned in. Seriously, Kasha offered a small smile. He asked. The door swung open. Ryder stepped in, posture stiff, collar slightly askew, an unspoken apology. He looked around at framed Novaher accolades lining the walls, then at Kasha. "I thank you for seeing me." His voice was unsteady, unfamiliar. Kasha gestured to a chair. "Have a seat." He sat, hands clasped. Silence stretched. Finally, Ryder exhaled. "I owe you an apology." Kasha folded her arms. "Go on." He ran a hand through his hair, eyes flicking away. "I was cruel. I underestimated you. Not just you, but every woman who dared step out of my shadow." Kasha said nothing. He swallowed. "Watching your ascendancy, I realized how wrong I was. You didn't need me." Kasha's pulse quickened. Was this contrition or manipulation? She studied his expression, tension lines, worry etched beneath his brow. Why now? She asked quietly. Ryder paused. I've lost control, personally and professionally. But watch you. I see determination, vision. I respect you. His tone grew softer. I'd like to help, if you'd let me. Casha's gaze hardened. She remembered the boardroom kiss with Kira, the public divorce. Help, she echoed. What could you possibly offer? He leaned forward. My network. My connections. My resources. He paused, vulnerability cracking through his facade. I know it's too late for apologies, but I wanted you to know, I regret how I treated you. Casha's heart fluttered, but she tamped it down. She stood, walking to her desk. Ryder, I built Nova Her without you. I don't need favors. She picked up a file, the upcoming product roadmap. I appreciate the sentiment, but this. She tapped the binder. This is all mine. Ryder exhaled, nodding. I get it. I just wanted closure. Casha closed the binder, softening. Closure is knowing I'm free. She met his gaze. I forgive you, but I don't forget. He rose, shoulders slumping. Thank you. He paused at the door. I hope you continue to succeed. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut. Casha inhaled, sinking into her chair. Jade appeared at her side. That went surprisingly civil. Casha rubbed her temples. I feel lighter. Jade grinned. Onward and upward. Casha nodded, eyes shining with resolve. Onward. The conference room at Cross Capital gleamed under overhead lights as Damien Cross settled into his chair, eyes alight with excitement. Casha Loren joined him, a sleek tablet in hand. What's this about? She asked, voice curious. Damien tapped a digital slide. Her fund, empowering women entrepreneurs. Beneath it, bullet points detailed a $50 million venture capital fund dedicated to female-founded startups. I want to launch a fund, 50-50 partnership. Half women, half profit. Casha leaned forward. Why me? Damien smiled. Because you know the challenges firsthand. You built an empire from scratch. He swiped to mission and vision. Support women who've been underestimated. Invest in sustainable innovation. Provide mentorship and resources. Jade and Victor, seated nearby, exchanged excited glances. Casha scrolled through the slide deck. Target LPs. Projected returns. Deal flow pipeline. I love it, she said, heart quickening. But I have one condition. Damien raised an eyebrow. We allocate 25% of fund capital to founders from marginalized communities, women who faced systemic barriers. Damien nodded, impressed. Agreed. Casha continued. We also offer an incubator program, workspace, legal support, and leadership training. Successful alumni get equity stakes in future fund pools. She tapped another slide. Her accelerator roadmap. Damien reviewed her additions, then clasped his hands. Perfect. He extended his hand. Shall we? Casha shook it firmly. Around them, their teams erupted in applause. Jade beamed. Victor nodded. Over the next hour, they fine-tuned fund structure. Carry percentages, LP outreach, co-investment terms. Legal counsel video called in, hashing out term sheets. Casha signed a preliminary agreement with a flourish. Later, as they exited the building, Casha paused on the steps, looking back at the sleek tower rising above her. Damien at her side. She said softly, This is bigger than Nova Her. Damien nodded. It's our legacy. Casha inhaled the evening air, excitement pulsing through her veins. She pictured the women whose lives they transform, the startups born from her fund seeds. She envisioned herself not just as CEO, but as a catalyst for systemic change. Damien draped an arm around her shoulders. To rewriting the rules again. Casha tilted her head against him, smiling. To leaving footprints where others can follow. As they descended into the city lights, Casha Loren felt the thrill of a new chapter, not one defined by personal revenge, but by collective empowerment. And with every woman they uplifted, her triumph over Ryder Vaughn would resonate even louder. Proof that some journeys begin with heartbreak and end in revolution. Victor Shaw stood in the sleek atrium of Nova Her Soho headquarters, phone pressed to his ear. The midday sun filtered through the glass ceiling, illuminating his sharp features. On the other end, a familiar yet conflicting voice. His former colleagues at Vaughn Enterprises, offering him a counterproposal. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Just months ago, he'd been Ryder Vaughn's indispensable assistant, privy to every boardroom gambit, every press statement. Yet when Ryder had shoved him aside in public, Victor chose loyalty to vision over loyalty to title. He joined Kasia, believing in her integrity and the promise of her startup. Now Vaughn's recruiters dangled a golden handshake, CTO of a new tech venture within Vaughn's empire, complete with equity. It was tempting, returning to the well-known, with the prestige of the Vaughn name behind him. And yet, when he looked at Novahurst's bustling coding pods, the enthusiastic junior developers clustering around Kasia's open floor plan, he felt a deeper allegiance. Kasia found him pacing outside her office suite. Her heels clicked on polished concrete. "Victor?" she asked, concern flickering in her steel-gray eyes. He ended the call and slipped his phone into his pocket. "They want me back," he said quietly. Kasia steeled herself. "Ryder's offering you a lot." Victor nodded. "I won't lie, it's tempting. But I didn't leave Vaughn to end up back under his thumb." He ran a hand through his hair. "I left because I believe in Novahurst's mission. Here, my work affects lives. Our referral program just drove a 12% increase in user retention. Our mental health AI module is about to launch." Kasia's expression softened. "You've built so much here." He looked her in the eye. "Not just me. All of us together." Kasia exhaled, relief mingling with pride. "Thank you for staying." She paused. "But if you ever feel undervalued, let me know. I don't want you to second-guess your choice." Victor smiled, tension ebbing. "I know where I belong." He held out his hand. "I'm in this for the long haul." They shook on it. That evening, Victor convened the tech leadership team in the glass-walled war room. Projected on the screen was the Q3 roadmap, expansion of global servers, integration of new wellness APIs, and an early access program for select brand partners. He tapped the display. "These features will set us apart. Let's hit our deadlines." Over the coming week, Victor's leadership galvanized the developers. Late-night coding sprints, whiteboard design sessions, and impromptu user testing panels became routine. Yet a shadow lurked in Victor's mind. Ryder Vaughn's final plea had made him question his courage. Each success at Novahurst reaffirmed his choice, and each time he caught Kasia's grateful glance, his conviction deepened. Meanwhile, Ryder's camp fumed at Victor's defection. In Ryder's office, framed photos of corporate events stared back at him. He scrawled Victor's name on a whiteboard under targets, each letter a promise of retribution. But his boardroom advisors warned against hampering Novahurst's momentum, fearing legal and PR fallout. The plan dissolved into impotence, leaving Ryder trapped by his own rancor. On a crisp autumn morning, as Victor watched the city bustle below from his office perch, Kasia knocked and entered, carrying 2 coffees. She handed him one. "We hit 100,000 active users," she said, voice bright. Victor's eyes lit up. That's a milestone no one saw coming this fast. He took a sip. "Thanks for believing in me." Kasia smiled. "Thank you for proving what we can do when we work together." Victor set his cup down. "Let's make sure Novahurst never needs another CTO." He offered a fist bump, and Kasia tapped her fist against his. In that shared moment, Victor's loyalty was sealed, not by blood or contract, but by purpose. And as Novahurst's arc soared, Ryder Vaughn's own star continued its downward spiral, powerless to reclaim what he'd lost. Ryder Vaughn strode into his executive suite, pressing his palm against the mahogany desk for balance. Morning headlines streamed across his dual monitors. Vaughn Enterprises plunges amid Novahurst competition. Boardroom revolt. Investors seek new leadership. CEO under fire for corporate missteps. His CFO, a steely woman with silver-streaked hair, stood by the projection screen. "Ryder, we need a restructuring plan now. Share prices have fallen 18% this quarter. Client churn is at an all-time high." Ryder's grip on the desk tightened. "What about our new product line?" The CFO shook her head. "Delayed. Engineering says it's 6 months behind schedule. Marketing budgets have been cut, and morale is tanking." Ryder's breath came in shallow bursts. Weeks of aggressive counter-campaigns had backfired. PR scandals emerged. Legal suits were threatened over alleged smear tactics, and the very investors he leaned on had begun distancing themselves. Each failure compounded the last. Meanwhile, at Nova Hearst Soho Loft, Kasha Loren reviewed her own dashboard. Growth metrics still climbing, user satisfaction rates at 94%, and brand partnerships multiplying. She frowned at a message from her board. Vaughn Enterprises wants to meet again. She forwarded it to her legal team. Back in Ryder's fortress, he convened an emergency board meeting. The board members, once his loyal champions, sat in tense silence. One senior partner cleared his throat. It's time for honest dialogue. Your leadership style, aggressive, vindictive, has eroded trust. Ryder slammed his palm on the table. This is about competition, finance, not my style. Another director, younger and more forthright, spoke up. The board is voting on a motion of no confidence. We need new direction. Shock rippled through the room. Ryder's eyes darted. You can't do that. The chairman, a veteran investor, raised a hand. We can and we will. He signaled 2 board members. They placed their hands on the table. Effective immediately, we're appointing an interim CEO and launching a search for new leadership. Ryder staggered back. His empire, built over decades, cracked beneath him. He realized, too late, that his war against Kasha had been his undoing. That evening, the NYSE news feed blared the official announcement. Vaughn Enterprises board ousts CEO Ryder Vaughn. The trading floor reacted with muted celebration. Stocks surged from short covering, but the long-term outlook remained bleak. In contrast, Nova Hearst ticker at Cross Capital glowed green. Kasha watched the juxtaposition with a calm heart. She'd been the underdog. Now she was the benchmark. Ryder left his empty office for the last time, possession boxes in hand. His assistant approached. Sir, should I arrange a car? He placed his boxes on the floor and shook his head. No, I need time to think. His eyes lingered on the skyline, the same city where he'd once ruled. Now it felt alien. As he descended the elevator, he crossed paths with Victor Shaw, passing through Vaughn's lobby on his way to a Nova Her board meeting. Victor offered a polite nod. Ryder could only stare. The empire he dominated had collapsed, its pieces scattered by the woman he discarded. And as the doors closed, Ryder Vaughn realized that some ruins are irreversible. Lights, cameras, action. Kasha Loren sat poised under the bright studio lights of Visionaries Live, a top business podcast with a global audience. Across from her, host Marisol Vega clasped her hands, excitement dancing in her eyes. Kasha, Marisol began. Your story is viral, billion-dollar valuation, dethroning an industry titan, and building a platform that empowers women. Let's start at the beginning. How did it feel signing those divorce papers in front of your ex-husband's board? Kasha leaned forward, voice steady. Terrifying and liberating. At that moment, I had nothing but a notebook full of ideas. It was the lowest point, when I realized I could either let it break me or use it as fuel. Marisol nodded, and fuel it was. Nova Her launched 3 weeks later. Walk us through those early days. Kasha detailed late-night coding sessions, Jade's unwavering support, and Damien's skeptical first meeting. I cried, I laughed, I questioned every decision, but I kept moving forward. A montage of clips played. Kasha pacing Jade's living room at 3 a.m., Damien leaning back in his cross-capital office, impressed. Social media eruptions. Ryder Vaughn's live mic meltdown. Each frame drew gasps. Marisol pressed on. You faced public humiliation, then skyrocketed to success. How did you handle the pressure? Kasha's gaze softened. I focused on impact. Our user stories. Women overcoming health issues, gaining confidence, finding community. That kept me grounded. She shared a letter from a beta user whose virtual styling feature helped her regain self-esteem after cancer treatment. Tears glistened in her eyes. The camera zoomed in. Kasha's vulnerability struck a chord. Comments flooded live chat. Inspiring. I'm crying. She's a queen. Marisol shifted to the next segment. Your former assistant, Victor Shaw, defected from Vaughn to join you, then helped build your tech. How did you convince him? Kasia smiled. By trusting him. I never treated him like a replaceable cog. I showed gratitude often. Marisol leaned in. Last question. What's next for Kasia Loren? Kasia's eyes gleamed. We just launched her fund to invest in women's startups. And in a few months, we'll release mental wellness integrations and a global mentorship network. But beyond products, I aim to redefine leadership. One that's compassionate, collaborative, and unapologetically ambitious. Marisol wrapped up. Kasia, thank you for sharing your journey. You're not just a CEO, you're a movement. The episode dropped at 8 p.m. Within 3 hours, it hit 12 million views. Clips of Kasia's tearful anecdotes, her poised responses, and her vision for the future circulated on TikTok and Instagram. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Cash on Visionaries. Hashtag Break the Ceiling. Hashtag Never Crawl Back. That night, Kasia sat on her balcony, skyline stretching before her. Jade joined her, handing a glass of wine. You broke the internet. Jade laughed. Kasia sipped. We did. She gazed at the lights below. Each one a story, a user, a life touched. She smiled heartful. From divorce papers to global inspiration, she transformed heartache into hope, and shown the world that sometimes the most powerful voices are forged in the crucible of adversity. The infusion of natural morning light revealed the minimalist elegance of Kasia's new loft, floor-to-ceiling windows, white marble floors, and a single orchid in a glass vase. She stirred her coffee, reviewing her fund's launch metrics on her tablet, when a firm knock echoed. Startled, she set the tablet down and crossed to the door, unprepared for its visitor. Through the peephole, she saw Ryder Vaughn, suit slightly rumpled, expression earnest. Her heart fluttered, then stilled. She opened the door. Ryder hesitated before stepping inside. His gaze swept the loft. I hope I'm not intruding. Kasia struck by how small he looked in her space, once his domain. What do you want, Ryder? Her voice was cool. He swallowed. I need your help. Kasia folded her arms. I don't need you. Ryder winced. I'm in trouble, financial, legal, personal. I've lost everything. He paused, placing a manila folder on the console table. I've tried rebuilding on my own, but His voice cracked. You were right. I was cruel. And now I'm paying the price. Please, advice, a reference, anything. Kasia's pulse raced. She glanced at the folder. It contained legal briefs detailing Vaughn Enterprises' bankruptcy filings and a request for introductions to potential investors. Ryder's empire truly lay in ruins. She met his eyes. You told me I'd crawl back. Her voice grew quiet but firm. Here you are. Ryder's shoulders sagged. I know I don't deserve mercy. Kasia considered the man who once swore he couldn't live without her, who'd humiliated and betrayed her. Yet she recalled her journey, the courage it took to rebuild, the mentors who showed compassion when others showed scorn. After a long moment, she said, I'll help, on one condition. Ryder looked up, hope flickering. You publicly acknowledge your wrongs and commit to a foundation supporting women in business, seated and led by you. Ryder exhaled, relief and shame mingling. I will. I swear it. Kasia nodded. Then start with that. She placed the folder back on the table. Begin drafting your statement. And Ryder. He turned. She stepped forward. Own your mistakes. That's the first step to redemption. His eyes glistened. Thank you. As Ryder exited, Kasia closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding. She'd extended grace, but on her terms. In her loft, where she was queen, she still held the power. Weeks passed before Ryder delivered on his promise. A published op-ed in the Financial Chronicle bore the headline, My Mistakes, My Responsibility, a CEO's pledge to support women entrepreneurs. Under his byline lay a heartfelt apology, an outline of his new foundation to mentor female leaders, and a donation matching Kasia's initial gift to her fund's inaugural cohort. Kasia read it in her office, surrounded by her fund's team, a ring of bright-eyed associates reviewing pitch decks. She quietly closed the browser and looked up as Victor entered. He followed through, he said. Public acknowledgement, commitment, funds allocated. Kasia exhaled, trading a glance with Jade. That's closure. Meanwhile, Kira Miles paced her lavish apartment on the Upper East Side. Ryder's public apology had stirred her doubts, her reputation tied to his downfall. Late at night, their marriage groaned under the weight of scandal and insincerity. She typed a message to Ryder. "We need to talk." Ryder arrived at her door, guilt and regret in his eyes. Kira stood, arms crossed. "You humiliated Kasha, and me by extension," she began. "Your apology felt like self-serving damage control." Ryder swallowed hard. "I'm sorry for everything." Kira's shoulders slumped. "I can't do this anymore." She turned away. "Goodbye, Ryder." He closed his eyes as the door clicked shut. Back at Novaher, Kasha received news of Kira's departure via headline alert. Trophy wife files for divorce amid Vaughn fallout. She allowed herself a small, bittersweet smile. The final vestige of her past crumbled. That evening, Kasha stood at her fund's launch gala, arms around Jade and Victor as they admired the sea of attendees, women founders, mentors, investors, raising glasses in celebration. A slideshow projected Ryder's op-ed, framed as part of the evening's theme, redemption through action. Kasha raised her glass. "To second chances for all of us." The crowd echoed her sentiment. Glasses chimed. As she gazed across the room, she realized her journey had come full circle, from divorce papers to her private jet landing, from humiliation to acclaim, from broken trust to meaningful impact. And though Ryder had warned she'd crawl back, she stood tall, flown higher than any promise he ever made. Her phone buzzed, a message from Damien. "Jet's ready." Kasha slipped her phone into her clutch, detached it from the world she'd built tonight. Leaving Jade and Victor amidst the celebration, she walked toward the exit. Outside, the night air was crisp, the skyline ablaze. In the distance, her jet waited, ready to carry her to her next horizon. She paused under the stars, whispering to herself, "He said I'd crawl back, but I learned to fly instead." And with that, Kasha Loren stepped into the future, unapologetically, irresistibly, and soaring above every expectation. The morning sun glinted off the tarmac as Kasha Loren stepped out onto the private airfield. A sleek Gulfstream G650, its engines humming softly, waited beside a polished staircase. Her heels clicked on the concrete as she approached. Behind her, Victor Shaw and Jade Miles hovered, expressions equal parts awe and pride. "Morning, boss," Victor called, offering a travel briefcase. Inside lay her speaking notes for the World Business Summit in Davos and an itinerary for meetings in London. Kasha tucked it under her arm. Jade handed her a fresh espresso. "Fuel for takeoff," Jade quipped. Kasha laughed, pressing the cup to her lips. The rich aroma grounded her. She closed her eyes briefly, recalling the day Ryder Vaughn signed those divorce papers 7 years ago. Back then, she'd never imagined commanding a plane like this. Now she owned half the runway. A uniformed pilot approached, tipping his cap. "Ms. Loren, we're ready when you are." Kasha gave a nod. Walking up the stairs, she turned back to Jade and Victor. "Thank you," she said. Their smiles were bright. She'd built Novaher with their loyalty and brilliance. This jet was as much theirs as hers. Once aboard, the cabin's plush leather seats and ambient lighting welcomed her. Damien Cross, seated at the far end with a tablet, looked up and grinned. "Happy launch day," he said, tapping his screen to reveal live coverage of the summit's opening ceremony. Kasha sank into her seat. Couldn't resist seeing it. She gazed at a live stream, world leaders and CEOs gathering beneath the banner. Innovation and leadership, shaping the next decade. Tomorrow, she'd deliver the keynote Beyond Business, Empowering Global Women. Damien leaned forward. "You'll crush it." Kasha smiled wryly. "Let's hope." She tapped her tablet, reviewing her speech, an outline for expanding Novaher's global branches and announcing the first cohort of her fund's international grants. Her words would echo across continents. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ready for departure in 5 minutes." Kasha closed her laptop with satisfaction. Every detail was set, and her jet awaited. As the engines roared to life, she looked out the window at the Manhattan skyline receding. This moment symbolized not just a flight path, but her journey. from a discarded ex-wife to a visionary leader whose private jet landed for her, not her ex-husband. The jet soared skyward, leaving the city, and her past, beneath drifting clouds. Kasha allowed herself a moment of quiet triumph. This was the culmination of grit, late-night grind, and unwavering belief. Damien closed his tablet. Jay peered over Victor's shoulder. "Next stop, the world stage," Kasha said softly. They all raised their espresso cups in a toast. Back in New York, Ryder Vaughn sat in his minimalist apartment, watching live streams of Kasha's jet-bound departure. The screen showed her plane ascending, a visual dagger twisting in his chest. He sipped scotch, the amber liquid warming him against the cold sting of regret. He glanced at his phone. Multiple missed calls from Kira, unanswered texts from former board members. Yesterday's victory lap, publicly proclaiming his own foundation, had been met with skepticism. His apology op-ed had rallied some praise, but his personal brand remained tarnished. On the jet, Kasha reviewed her latest metrics. Her fund's first international grant recipients posted tearful thank-you videos. Nova Hearst's AR Meets Wellness update launched ahead of schedule. The chat buzzed with congratulatory emojis. She leaned back, savoring that unstoppable momentum. Meanwhile, Ryder's phone pinged. A breaking news alert. Vaughn Enterprises files for Chapter 11, End of an Era. He stared at the headline, disbelief in his eyes. Chapter 11 meant restructuring under court supervision, his name eternally linked to the fall of the empire he built. He pushed away from the bar, pacing. Memories of triumphs, boardroom conquests, acquisitions, keynote addresses flashed. All crumbled. Now creditors circled, and legal battles loomed. His vulnerability exposed him to scorn. Across the Atlantic, Kasha's jet touched down at Zurich Airport. Stepping onto the jet bridge, she inhaled the crisp mountain air. Reporters clustered, snapping photos. A banner overhead read, "Welcome Cassandra Loren, keynote speaker." She posed briefly before entering the airport lounge, flanked by security. Her world had grown vast, and her power unassailable. Back in New York, Ryder watched a late-night business roundtable, dissecting his downfall. Analysts speculated on his next move. If he had won, the final shatter of his prestige reverberated like an earthquake, toppling the last pillars of his pride. In Davos, Kasha arrived at the summit venue, her heels clicking on polished marble. World leaders and executives paused to greet her. "Ms. Loren, congratulations. Your vision inspires us." Each accolade felt surreal, once unimaginable. That evening, as she rehearsed under stage lights, her assistant whispered, "Mr. Vaughn requested media access to record your keynote." Kasha paused, heart fluttering. She smiled politely but declined. This stage is for innovation, not old rivalries. In his apartment, Ryder dropped onto the couch, exhaustion consuming him. The final shatter was total. No board, no empire, no illusion of invincibility. His only connection to Kasha now lay in headlines. Once his wife, now the world's wonder. And as Kasha stood beneath the spotlight in Davos the next day, about to address an audience of thousands, Ryder Vaughn realized that her triumph was his final undoing. A hushed anticipation settled over the Grand Hall at the World Business Summit as Kasha Loren stepped onto the circular stage. The backdrop glowed with her image and the line, "From boardroom humiliation to global revolution." Cameras whirred, capturing every movement. She wore a tailored navy sheath dress, powerful yet approachable, her shoulders squared, posture regal. In that instant, she embodied the underdog to queen narrative she'd scripted. Among the audience sat heads of state, Fortune 500 CEOs, and aspiring entrepreneurs, all leaning forward. Kasha inhaled. Then, with measured poise, she began. 2 years ago, I signed my divorce papers in front of a board that once celebrated my marriage. Today, I stand before you not as a wife, but as a leader, one who's forged her own destiny. The hall erupted in applause. She continued, unveiling Nova Hearst's global expansion plan. Partnerships in Tokyo, Dubai, and Sao Paulo. Her fund's first round of grant disbursements to female founders in sub-Saharan Africa. And the launch of the Nova Her University Scholarship Program for underserved students. Each announcement drew rising cheers. Then came the pinnacle, the summit's annual award, Global Woman of the Year. The host, UN Secretary-General Li Wei, joined her on stage. He raised an envelope. The recipient, he let the suspense linger. Kasha's pulse quickened. Is Kasha Loren? A spotlight illuminated her as thunderous applause broke out. Tears glistened at the corners of her eyes. Li Wei draped the award, a crystal globe etched with her name, around her neck, and handed her a microphone. Kasha's voice wavered, then strengthened. This award isn't mine alone. It belongs to every woman who's been told she's not enough, to every entrepreneur who's risked it all on a dream, and to every ally who champions equality. Thank you for proving that we have the power to redefine success. She paused, gazing out at the sea of faces. I was once mocked as ordinary. Today, we celebrate our extraordinary potential. Cameras captured the moment. Tears, smiles, standing ovation. Social media ignited. Hashtag Global Woman 2025. Hashtag Queen Kasha. Hashtag Novaher. Backstage, Damien embraced her. Jade and Victor joined, surrounding her in a triumphant group hug. You did it, Damien whispered. Kasha laughed through tears. We did it. In a VIP room afterward, the summit's elite raised glasses in her honor. Ban Ki-moon offered his congratulations. Ariana Huffington praised her leadership, and Melinda French Gates toasted her as a standard-bearer for women's empowerment. That night, as Kasha gazed out at Davos's snow-capped peaks, cradling her award, she reflected on the journey, from shattered confidence to crowned queen on the world stage. Here, atop global acclaim, she felt the culmination of every sacrifice and triumph. And far below, in Manhattan, headlines proclaimed, from divorce papers to crystal globe, Kasha Loren's crowning moment. Upon returning to New York, Kasha Loren transformed Novaher Soho headquarters into more than an office. It became a beacon of legacy. The lobby's glass walls displayed a gallery, snapshots from her journey, divorce papers, pitch meetings with Damien, the jet's arrival, and the Global Woman of the Year award. Each image told a story of resilience. She convened her executive team in the boardroom. Our next chapter, she began, voice resonant, is about enduring impact. She unveiled 2 initiatives, the Novaher University, a partnership with top universities offering accredited courses in women's leadership, and the Catalyst Fund, a dedicated endowment within her fund to support long-term ventures in clean energy and education. Her team buzzed with excitement. Jade Miles would helm the university. Victor Shaw would oversee Catalyst's tech grants. Kasha assigned roles and timelines, ambitious yet attainable. She empowered them to innovate, reminding them, legacy isn't built overnight. It's cultivated through sustained commitment. Meanwhile, the first cohort of Novaher University students arrived. Women from diverse backgrounds, engineers, activists, artists, each with a story of overcoming barriers. Kasha greeted them on campus day, inspiring them with her address. You're here because you dared to dream. Now, you have the tools and the community. Across town, her fund's first grantees launched their startups. A solar-powered water purifier in Kenya, an AI mental health chatbot in Brazil, and an urban vertical farming cooperative in Singapore. Kasha joined their virtual pitch demos, offering guidance and networking introductions. Each success story fueled her determination to expand the fund. Legacy also meant giving back locally. Kasha opened Novaher's flagship community center in Harlem, offering coding workshops, financial literacy classes, and mentorship for at-risk youth. The opening ceremony brimmed with energy. Local leaders, press, and scholarship recipients celebrating opportunity. Kasha's keynote, empowerment begins at home. Through profiles in major publications and documentaries, Kasha's narrative reached millions. A woman who turned personal devastation into a movement. Schools added her story to leadership curricula. Motivational speakers referenced her journey. She became a case study in resilience and philanthropy. At home, tucked away in her loft, Kasha framed a news clipping. Legacy in action. Novaher's community impact. She placed it beside her Global Woman trophy. The display was a reminder. Success without purpose is hollow. She whispered to herself, This is what lasts. As the sun set over the Hudson, Kasia stood on her balcony, surveying the city she once fled and now uplifted. Her legacy wasn't just a brand or a net worth. It was lives transformed, doors opened, and the echo of possibility for generations of women. The hum of the private jet's engines was a distant memory as Kasia Loren settled into her beachfront villa in Cape Town. The azure waves lapped below, matching the serenity she'd fought years to attain. Damian Cross joined her on the terrace, sipping herbal tea. Behind them, her fund's international symposium prepared to begin. A gentle breeze carried the promise of tomorrow. Kasia closed her eyes, recollecting Ryder Vaughan's jibe. "You'll crawl back to me." She smiled. Not only had she never crawled, but she'd soared. That evening, they hosted a gala under African skies, uniting fund recipients from 5 continents. Women spoke of turning microloans into thriving enterprises, creating educational platforms for girls, and innovating sustainable solutions. Kasia listened, heart swelling. Each story reinforced her conviction: empowerment begets empowerment. Damian leaned in. "You've changed the world." Kasia shook her head. "We have." She swept her arm across the crowd, the collective brilliance of women whose lives had been uplifted. Later, she addressed the symposium. "I stand before you once broken, now whole. They said I'd crawl back. Instead, I learned to fly, on the wings of my dreams, my allies, and every woman who believed in herself." Applause rolled across the lawn. As night fell, fairy lights twinkled overhead. Guests mingled, laughter filling the air. Music drifted, blending jazz and local rhythms. Kasia joined Jade on the dance floor, spinning beneath the stars. Victor snapped candid photos, the joy on their faces a testament to journeys transcended. Afterward, alone on the terrace, Kasia stared at the horizon where ocean met sky. Her reflection shimmered in the glass railing, a woman unapologetically empowered. She whispered into the night, "I never needed to crawl." Within her, the spark of that once fragile notebook had become a conflagration of possibility, burning across industries, borders, and hearts. In every chapter of her life, she had rewritten the script, and as dawn's first light painted the sky rose and gold, Kasia Loren embraced her truth, that true power arises not from clinging to the past, but from daring to chart your own course, soaring ever higher, wings unfurled, unbound by anyone's expectations except your own. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.